Coming up, let's try this again. Coming up on this brand new episode of Don't Panic, we're back, and that means more tech news, including the end of Time Warner Comcast. We also talk Elon Musk's fancy new batteries, instant articles, all the news from Microsoft's build, and a whole lot more. It's a great episode of Don't Panic, starting with one host. We're going to get two, so stick around because we're going to start it right now. This is Don't Panic, episode number 91, recorded May 4th, 2015, on hidden ports, instant articles, and building the future. Hello everybody and welcome to this super mega epic exciting edition of Don't Panic, the technology podcast that will look great on your HoloLens. I'm Sean Jennings, and I am joined by the Ted Cruz of technology. He, too, will never be president. It is Colby Rabbitt. Sir, how are we doing this evening?
I don't know. I'm a little sad. You just crushed my hopes and dreams.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be... It's recorded for all of posterity, so I'll be proven wrong when President Rabideau is running our fair nation.
We'll see. Yeah. I'm pretty good, though. I'm pleased that it's warm, though I'm displeased that the Facebook APIs seem to have changed out from under our website, so we are all locked out of our website, which is delightful. So
I'm sure there's some
apologies in advance for the delays.
I'm sure there's some lesson to be learned here about relying on other companies' services to power your own, but...
Actually, the lesson is probably that I shouldn't have turned off all the notification emails from Facebook.
That's a pretty good lesson to learn.
But, you know.
There's always next time.
Details.
So, if you want new episodes, visit our website, but you can also visit our, we'll go through the spiel. We have a youtube.com/don'tpanicshow. You can get the videos there, and you can get our audio episodes on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and wherever podcast RSS feeds are cached, like Overcast, our kind of personal pick on the show. You can go there as well, and of course, don'tpanic.io, at Don't Panic Show on Twitter. We do the show every week, except when I have a cold or I'm out of town, which seems to happen a lot these days. Be very glad we didn't do a show last week because I would have been incoherent. But we're back. We've got a lot of tech news. Dan is on his way. He will be joining us later on. So he will be here. We're told, although in New York City you never know. So we'll certainly try. But I think, excuse me, now is as good a time as any to maybe talk a little tech news. Colby, how's that sound?
That sounds excellent.
Now, which of the stories in the rundown do you think Dan would least want to talk about? Because I don't want to talk about something he's going to be bummed he missed. Is there...
So I feel like... All right, let's talk through this. I think Dan would definitely want to talk about batteries.
Yep.
And maybe the Microsoft Build Conference.
Yeah, I want to save that.
Okay. What about like the Apple Music stuff? I guess Dan might have an opinion on that.
Dan has so many opinions.
Damn it.
All right, how about we talk about the hidden port on the Apple Watch? This may be the most flat story we have in the rundown. There's really no opinion to be had on this. It's merely a fact of existence. None of us have an Apple Watch. We're told they exist. And they have this sort of weird port on the back of it. So I'll put it on screen for those of you at home who want to look. It's like you slide the watch band out from the Apple Watch, and it's like a little divot where you can slide in new bands. And in there is a little door, and it kind of looks like the SIM card slot you would have on your phone. It's a very similar look. But what's behind it is an actual sort of pinned connector. There's a little picture of it here. It's got 6 pins. It's a metal connector, and Apple hasn't really said anything about it, what it does, why it's there, why you would need it, there's just no one talks about it. It's a little secret. Well, there is a company who's having a product on Kickstarter. They're claiming that it can be used to charge the device at an even faster rate than the built-in inductive charger. So they don't have any direct evidence to back this claim, but the company they're hawking a battery strap that you will be able to attach and work with that port. They claim that they can confirm the diagnostic port underneath the watch can be used for charging. We don't know if that's true. Apple certainly hasn't said anything, and they could certainly cripple it tomorrow with software. But for now, I think it's pretty interesting that there is this port. That's, I think, one of the cool things Pebble's doing with their watch, is where you have this accessory port where you can plug in sensors and extra batteries and, whatever. So I think that could be really interesting. It doesn't surprise me that Apple would build that in, not even necessarily having plans to use it off the get-go, but just to have the option.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think the first thing I thought of was the Pebbles. I forget what they call it, but their extra port on the new Pebble Times, which that was their plan exactly. Is like, oh, you can add extra battery, or you can connect sensors, or as a way to like add functionality to the Pebble devices that isn't built in by default. I think I can certainly imagine for this like watch band battery company that it would be pretty great, because like I would imagine you could make a much more or much less intrusive like battery band if it didn't have to like connect to the bottom thing under the.
It's a good place for a port.
Yeah.
I think the big difference, though, between these two companies is Pebble's been pretty open so far. I mean, it's a new watch. No one really has one. But they've been really open about it. I cannot imagine. I mean, think of how locked in Apple is with the Lightning connectors and things like that. I can't imagine Apple's going to be, like, super open about this port. But I guess we don't know.
Yeah. I guess it could also be something that they weren't. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just meant they never thought of it. They're like, oh, we could do that.
Apple apparently calls it something like a diagnostic port. And the theory is it's for Apple's internal use. Which makes sense.
Right, like, I would imagine, I don't know, like, if your watch is messed up and you bring it to the Apple store people, like, they need a way to interface with it that is not Bluetooth. Like if the Bluetooth dies, what do? You have to like. So it makes sense. It makes sense that there would be a hardware port somewhere.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what they do with it, if anything at all.
Do we know? I guess we could just wait until Dan gets here. But do we know when Dan's watch is coming?
No, we don't. I think it's at least a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
Because unless you got in like within the first hour or two of the orders, you were pushed pretty far back.
Right. I guess that's.
Although I know at one point he said he was going to try to go to a store and then cancel his online order. I don't know if he ever did that, but I guess we can ask him when he gets here.
Interesting.
I've been getting the emails from Pebble, and I've been really excited to get my time when it gets here.
Yeah, me too.
Patience.
Did you see the one today that they're starting like mass production of the Times now?
Yeah, did you see the videos? The UI looks pretty sweet.
Oh, I didn't see the videos. I just read the email.
It was just a little sort of walkthrough example, but it was pretty nice. I'm excited.
It sounds cool.
Oh.
I'm excited. I feel like I've seen a bunch of tweets that were like, man, the Apple Watch would be way more useful if instead of a like app screen, it was like a screen of notifications, and the notifications were the entry point. And I was like, sounds familiar.
That is the reason to have a smartwatch. Like you don't buy a smartwatch to call an Uber car. You really do it for the notifications. Everything else is
exactly.
Great. So, cool. All right, we've talked about that. Let's continue on and talk more. Maybe we can talk quickly about Comcast Time Warner.
Okay.
This is the sort of... we've talked about this on the show before, the attempted merger between these two giant companies, and we've gone back and forth. Will they or won't they? Time Warner, Comcast, monopolies. Well, the news is here, and it has exploded quite spectacularly. $45 billion merger is over. Lots of resistance from regulators, so they met with the FCC and with some other the Justice Department, both of which gave it a lot of flack, and then said, well, we want you to go before I don't know if it was a congressional panel, but some kind of public hearing about it. And it was at that point that Comcast shut it down. They were like, we're not worth...
Public hearing?
You ever do anything in life where you're like, that's just not worth the hassle? Just not.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was. One of the things that really concerned the Justice Department was Comcast's stake in Hulu, which is interesting. The idea being that when Comcast bought NBC, they agreed to a bunch of things around their ownership of Hulu, actually NBC's ownership of Hulu, so it wouldn't be anti-competitive, and they didn't follow the rules that were really honestly set. I'm pulling up the article here because I don't want to misspeak in terms of what they've actually done, but let's see. The deal with the Justice Department when it acquired NBC Universal, Comcast was supposed to have no role in management decisions at Hulu. They were merely to collect checks from the mailbox, not to have any say in the actual running of the company. However, they did not do that and actually became quite involved when Hulu was trying to sell itself off a couple years ago. The government was not happy about that. So that was one of the reasons that they explicitly sort of broke the rules that they had set due to a previous merger. So it's not surprising they were unhappy about this. So the word on the street now, Comcast might be interested in Charter Cable, who is another major sort of cable company. There's also Bright House Networks is another cable company. So you may see more mergers in the future. There's AT&T and DirecTV that's still in the works. So this isn't over, but this was certainly a big one to sort of fall on its sword.
Indeed. I like the picture on this Verge article is a picture of the Death Star exploding. I enjoyed that one. Sean wouldn't know because he's never seen Star.
No, I don't get that. I knew it was something exploding. I got that part. Could have been anything. Could have been anything. Yeah, no, it is pretty interesting. So that story is over.
Mm-hmm. What about want to do instant articles next?
Just add water. That's right. Facebook. I swear, at least 2 other times we've talked about this on the show. Facebook trying to get news content. Right? They don't want you going to the Wall Street Journal. They want you to read the Wall Street Journal on Facebook. Why? So they can sell you ads. Spoiler alert, that's their business. It's selling you ads. Well, supposedly what they call instant articles may be coming to your feed this month, according to the Wall Street Journal. The way it works is, it's believed anyway, that they will partner with such publications as the New York Times, maybe BuzzFeed, etc., to deliver content that's actually hosted on Facebook. Now, there's 2 ways content owners will get potentially paid. One, publications will keep all ad revenue from articles posted on Facebook if the sites themselves sell the ad space, like they would on their own website. Or, if the publications let Facebook sell the ads, Facebook keeps 30%. This is indicative of the fact that Facebook doesn't see this as a revenue stream, but just as a way to get people to stay on Facebook and do more Facebook things. Which I think makes sense, because I can't speak for anyone but myself, but I never go on Facebook anymore.
Not me either.
Like, ever. And to be honest, one of the few things I actually do click around on Facebook are those little trending articles on the side, because they usually grab my attention.
Oh, interesting.
I almost never click on, like, friends things, because they're usually stupid. So, I actually think this could be really, really interesting. A lot of these large publications see a huge chunk of traffic coming from Facebook anyway. So I think it's
right.
Quite attractive for a company that was going to sell the same ad space on their own website, just do it on Facebook, and it's a win-win.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you also, like, having your stuff on Facebook, you probably get a lot more interesting, like, analytics about, like, you know who the people are, and I don't know, like, if you can leverage.
Leverage.
I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. I suspect some would call this the death of the internet. Like,
well, what's so funny about this is Facebook is becoming what Yahoo used to be, which is just a sort of site for everything. Because Facebook, Yahoo at one point, they had mail, and they had news, and they had customizable homepages, and they had Yahoo Instant Messenger, and they had all of these things. Like, it's cyclical. It's so funny that Facebook is going after news, which is exactly what all of these same content aggregator sites are doing.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
The only difference is Facebook has users.
Whoa!
You know, it's all the people who used to use Yahoo Mail and My Yahoo and Yahoo News, and now they've moved on. AOL is the same way. AOL Instant Messenger, and they had all the pieces.
Right. Yeah, I think it's definitely. I could see this working. Maybe. I mean, I think. I don't know. I could see people like coming for their friends' stuff still and sticking around to read, you know, a New York Times article or something.
I think
and like you said,
success.
Right, and like you said, as it is, like a lot of, at least a lot of the things on my feed are like links to external articles or listicles or, you know, videos or whatever. So I think. Yeah, I mean, if you don't leave Facebook to read those through, that's like certainly great for them, because if you don't leave the page, you're more likely to not to do something else on Facebook after you're done
and see and click on ads. Yeah, no, it's exactly right. Honestly, I have watched infinitely more videos on Facebook now that they instant play, which I hate. And I hate that, because all the ones I don't want to instant play, it's annoying, but I do watch more videos. Like, it is effective. And I feel like shoving news stories in the feed in their entirety, I think, could be really, really effective. I think the one thing they have to be careful of, though, is, A, if they put them in the feed, because they may not. It may actually be a separate section. If they put them in the feed, how do you balance your friends' content with external content, which is something they haven't really done before?
Yeah. Right. Well, that's not true. They still have the ad stuff, like the feed story ads. So it is, but I think I'm not sure I would expect to see like whole stories in the feed. I would expect to see something like it is now, where you get like a little preview and like you click through to somewhere, to something where you actually get the whole story. Right. So instead of going to a new website, you go to a different Facebook page.
And this is huge for mobile. Facebook in their earnings said it was something like 80% of their revenue comes from mobile ads. I mean, that's crazy. And what's one of the toughest things about reading long news stories or videos on your phone is you usually have to click to an external website that takes some time to load, because you're loading a whole different website. If Facebook can, like, I don't know how it works, but like dynamically, magically cache things through their app, you know, up the speed and the performance and...
Right. Well, I mean, even in general on mobile or the web, like you said, you don't have to go into a new app. You're in an app that's already loaded. So, you know, Facebook, sure, it has to do a request to like get the text of the article, but it doesn't have to do a request for all its other stuff, like all the stuff that it needs to render Facebook, which does have to happen on your other devices. So, yeah, I mean, that's certainly an argument too, and I don't know. It's been seen time and time again on internet-y things like this, that like that you know 500 milliseconds longer makes a huge difference with, you know, people sticking around or people converting or whatever you're doing, whatever you want them to do. If it's faster, they'll do it more.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's cool. It'll be interesting to see the implementation. We'll keep an eye on that and give you the latest when that happens eventually. Although this is, like I said, I think this is about the third time we've teased it, so
yeah,
who knows. Let's continue on to
Collections by Google.
Collections by Google. This is a short story, I think. It's a new addition to the Google Plus family. They keep adding features to Google Plus. I don't even know the last time I logged into my Google Plus account, to be honest.
I mean, you log in every time you look at your email.
Well, yeah. You know, I always question when Google comes out and they're like, oh, Google Plus is one of the most actively used social networks on the internet. I'm like, well, if you define that as I'm logged into Google Plus, then yes, you're probably right. I'm on Google Stuff all the time.
I'm gonna look at it right now.
Your Google Plus. I
Yeah.
have well, I was going to assume it might be blank, but we'll see. While you're doing that, Google Plus is launching Collections, which is a new feature that allows users to create boards of images, videos, and other content categorized around specific interests. So, for example, we could make a Don't Panic Google Plus collection, and in there we could share things like pictures, articles, videos, posts. You can subscribe to these collections. They're a little more stylized than just like a Don't Panic page, which we actually have one. I think it just recaches our YouTube stuff, but you can follow us there. Add us to your circle. And it is available today on Android and the web. iOS support is coming, quote, later. Yeah, so it's just a new way to sort of dynamically create and share content around a given theme. Some compare it to Pinterest boards, which, I kind of loosely see the comparison, where you're subscribing to something around a theme. You could do it for personal use, business use, that sort of thing. So available now, Collections on Google+.
Indeed.
Anything good on Google+, Colby?
Nope. There's like 2 people posting for ever.
Honestly,
they've been doing it real consistently.
There was back 2 years ago, whatever. I was going to really try to use Google+, so I subscribed to a bunch of really smart people, and they were posting really good, interesting things. The problem is I didn't have enough time in my day to check Twitter and Facebook and Google+. It kept falling by the wayside. I kept forgetting to check it. It's not that the content wasn't there, because there actually was some good stuff. It's just there's just too much. And this was back when I was in college and didn't have anything else to do, and I still didn't have. I had time to kill, and I didn't have time to do it. So, I don't know. No wonder Facebook's fighting for people's eyeballs. There's only so much to go around.
That's true.
Let's continue on. We'll talk payments here quickly. Apple Pay, Currency, we've talked about both on the show before. Competitors in the payments race. Well, score this one up to Apple Pay. Best Buy announcing they're going to start accepting Apple Pay later this year in their stores. This is a big deal specifically because Best Buy is a marquee partner of the Currency project, which we've talked about on the show. That's the payment system that uses QR codes, is the big partner. They were the ones from CVS that had them shut down Apple Pay. Well, Best Buy proved apparently the deal is not exclusive. We weren't sure if it was or it wasn't. I guess it's not, because now they're also supporting Apple Pay. Now, this doesn't mean they're out of Currency. They claim they're still involved in the merchant customer exchange, as the company's called. But they will begin including Apple Pay as well later this year. As far as I know, we still don't have a launch date on Currency. So they may get Apple Pay before they get Currency. We don't know. It was also announced this week Apple Pay will now support Discover Card, which means they now have all 4 major credit card brands in the United States: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover.
Interesting. I like this because no one's going to use Currency. I don't care if it continues to exist or is launched. I really don't think I'm ever going to use it. So I would appreciate if I could use something else at those places.
This to me is actually a really big deal, specifically because Best Buy was one or two companies that said explicitly, we are tearing out NFC readers. We do not support NFC. It is a costly thing. We do not like it. We do not want it. The fact that they are now turning around and saying and I think that's why it's later this year and not now, is because they've got to put some of that equipment back in.
Yeah.
The fact that they are doing that must mean, Apple doesn't explicitly say how much money goes through Apple Pay each year.
Right.
It's got to be a big number for them to be both A, investing in new hardware, and B, going against the MCX group as a marquee partner in that.
Yeah. I certainly, I think you're right. There must be some compelling reason for them to do it.
Yeah. And I listen, consumer choice in 90% of situations is always the right way to go, and I think these retailers are going to very quickly realize if it makes fiscal sense for us to support as many payment methods as possible, then they should do it. I hate to interrupt the call. We've got a caller on the line. Caller, you're on the air.
Whoa.
Hey there.
Hey there, caller. You're caller number 5. You just won tickets to see Van Halen this weekend at the Forum.
Great. I've always wanted to listen to Van Halen. I never have.
Yeah. They're not... they actually are on a reunion tour, and if you hear them on any kind of talk show or anything, they're awful. They're so bad. Certainly not like they used to be.
So how's it going?
It's going great. Better now that you're here, Dan.
I'm sorry I'm so late.
Oh, that's okay. I'm
that's
sure you
okay.
had better things to do than this.
Not quite.
No?
No, I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here.
We're glad to have you.
If you boys could both do me a favor and turn off your video and turn it back on again, because it's just sort of spinning for me here, and we'll see if we can get it reloaded. While
Both
you're
of
doing...
us?
Yeah, for some reason I can't. Colby's back, and we'll give Dan a minute here. While that's happening, I will say, and we're joined by the Bernie Sanders of technology. He, too, will never be president. It is Dan Miller.
You can't say that.
I just...
You don't know what I can be.
if it makes you feel better, I used the same joke on Colby, so...
He's also Bernie Sanders?
No, he was Ted Cruz.
Oh, okay.
So... But, yes, I did assume both of you would never be president.
Can you see me now?
No, I see Colby. I'm still getting the sort of spinning wheel on you, Dan.
I'll rejoin.
Okay. We're so good at technology. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's not been a great day for us in
No.
that respect.
How about now?
Well, we'll give it a second, but still nothing.
It might be hopeless.
Yeah, we might just have to put up the static picture.
That's too bad because I have something for show and tell also.
No, you don't.
I do.
You're out of control.
Oh no, we have to get it back.
We have to get it back. Here we go. So I'm going to try something here. I just hung up on Dan.
Fuck that guy.
Okay, all right.
I swear.
Well, wasn't going to go that far. That's quite mean. Let's try bringing him back into the call. See if that helps.
Hello. Oh, I can
Daniel?
see you now. That's probably an improvement. I couldn't see either before, actually.
Hey, he's here. Hey,
There
everybody.
we go.
It's Dan Miller, everybody.
Whoa!
What?
Hooray!
Amazing.
Woo.
Dan, welcome.
Thanks. So what did I miss?
So what did you miss? We actually talked through about half the rundown, but we tried to save the stories that we thought you would want to talk about.
Oh, good. Thank
'Cause
you.
That's only fair.
Yeah,
So we briefly, I'll just share, we covered the end of the Time Warner Comcast merger.
Thank goodness.
We also talked about the hidden port on the Apple Watch.
Oh, okay.
We talked about instant articles on Facebook, caching news content right on the site,
That sounds exciting.
potentially coming later this month. We also talked about Best Buy adopting Apple Pay in sort of in the face of Current C, the Apple Pay's chief rival. And I think that was... And collections. Google Collections on Google+, collections of content that is videos and pictures and things that you share on your collections. And that's it.
All right.
But we left the juicy stuff for you.
Let's dive into the juicy stuff.
Let's dive into the juicy stuff. Microsoft Build.
Oh yeah, this was huge.
This was huge.
We had some chatter about it, us three, over the weekend.
Yeah, this was an exciting... When was the last time we were like, wow, that Microsoft event was really great?
Well, the HoloLens thing, what was that even for, though? What was the HoloLens... What event was that even at? Was that CES? No.
No, I think they had... It was one of their conferences. I can't remember which one. Because they do like 14 of them every year.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll look it up.
Oh, no. I think wasn't there a special Windows 10 event? Like their launch, quote-unquote, event? I think... And that was a couple months ago. But anyway, you can look that up. While you're doing that, quickly, let's talk about a few of the things they announced at Build, starting with the sort of basis of universal apps on Windows 10. So we've heard about this before, Microsoft saying, you build your app once, it will work on Windows 10 phone, it will work on Windows 10, it will work on your TV over Xbox, it will work everywhere. But they sort of announced an interesting thing that not only will you build your apps through the way we want you to in our normal ways, but the Microsoft Store, the Windows Store where the apps will live, will now accept all kinds of exciting things. So for starters, your traditional Windows 8 type apps will be there. Okay, we get that. 2, Win3264 apps, or what you would call your traditional desktop apps, will be available to download from the Microsoft Store.
Is that not true before?
That was not true before, so they had to be special built to, for the Metro style and that sort of thing.
They had to be universal apps?
Yes.
Okay.
But these are the 64, 32-bit apps. They will be available through the store as well. On top of that, you'll be able to port your Android apps, sort of, using Java and C++, and your iOS apps using Objective-C. I don't know what any of that meant. I'm reading the article. But it means you'll be able to, hypothetically, with some small, as they say, level of change, take apps you've already written for other mobile platforms and use them in the Windows Store as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I tried to look into how exactly the Objective-C thing is nuts. So is what they did just re-implement the APIs? Did they have to re-implement Objective-C for Windows also? They must have, right?
I don't know.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to be able to compile it, right? Was it the case that Objective-C didn't exist for Windows, though?
Objective-C doesn't exist for anything except OS X, and then this weird GNU implementation, which I think is called GNU Step. I'll try to look it up. But yeah, no, it definitely doesn't exist for Windows.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
So
I guess they must have.
It's a colossal amount of work. And I don't know if it means that Microsoft has changed and they're going to be really supportive. I think they have changed and they are going to be really supportive, but I just don't think that the amount of effort that they had to put into this is going to pay off in the long term.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do? You can't just compile it unless it's a game, because you still missed out on all of the platform-specific UI bits. So even if you do compile it to Windows, you still have to change some stuff. So it's not free, and if it's not free, then how much work is it, and for how much benefit, and then the cost of keeping up with all that stuff. And then what happens when Apple releases iOS 9, and breaks everything? Then they have to re-implement. Right. So all of the apps that have been compiled for iOS 8 have to wait for Microsoft to finish building the iOS 9 versions of the APIs. It's really cool, but I don't know if it makes much business sense.
This seems to me like an in theory type of idea, where like on paper this sounds super awesome. It's just how well is it implemented? I mean, in this article I'm reading and trying to understand, because I don't understand any of this. Terry Myerson from Microsoft around Android said it initially will be analogous to what Amazon offers. If they're using some Google API, we have created Microsoft replacements for those APIs.
Right, so with Android, it makes more sense because Java runs on Windows already. So it's sort of like the lawsuit between Oracle and Java, where Oracle's like, hey, you re-implemented Java and just copied all of our APIs and re-implemented them. That's a copyright violation, which is also something that could happen here in both cases, I imagine.
Absolutely.
So, and did Google get... they did not... That the decision was in favor of Google for that court case, right? Or is it still going?
I don't think it's over completely, but I haven't really followed that one too closely.
I remember we were talking about how the judge wrote the sort function, and it was like, I could write this sort function. It's not, special that it's called sort. It takes a list and it sorts things. Like, doesn't seem very copyrightable. And I think we could all agree it really shouldn't be.
Yes, probably so. Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting. Well, you can go ahead, Sean.
No, I was gonna keep going with more news. So if you've got more to say on this, please do.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was listening to ATP today, and they were talking about it, and they pointed out that this is like, I don't know, like in a way, it's almost kind of like Microsoft is like getting kind of desperate, and I mean maybe for great good, and maybe some of these things will work, but it seems like they're like kind of trying everything, like everything they could possibly try to make Windows Phone happen, and to like open sourcing like Visual Basic, and that doing the new that new editor, and like their new editor. I think it's called the Code editor or something, which is.
Did you know that Microsoft has twitter.com/code?
Nice.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Good grab.
Crazy.
That yeah, how'd they get that?
I have no idea. So but all the other things except for this cross-compiling business, and again, I think it made way more business sense on Android than it does on iOS, both because it was less engineering work to build the Android version of this, I'm sure, but also I feel like there's less of an expectation on Android that your apps are going to be 100% native feeling, like that, whatever they call it. What are the Halo theme on Android is their style guide. There's less of at least when I used Android, maybe this has changed, there's always less of an expectation that the apps you downloaded conform to some visual style guide. And on iOS, as soon as a new version comes out with visual changes, all the apps like immediately update. Mm-hmm. So the Android thing makes more sense. All the other stuff, open sourcing the .NET framework, writing this editor, doing more integrations between their web-based editor and Azure, that stuff's going to pay off really big for them in the future. I want to, implement PHP and .NET. Like, that would be so much fun. I don't know if it would actually be a good idea, but like this stuff gets me excited about Microsoft, where I haven't been in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's really two ways you can look at something like this, where you can either say, wow, Microsoft's being awesome, and they're being open, and they want everyone to share everything, and it's cross-platform, and wow, our heroes. Or you look at it as Microsoft has given up on Windows Phone, and now they'll take any apps they can get anywhere, and they're super desperate. I think it's a really hard line to walk between the two. I will say quickly, one other way is to get apps in the Microsoft Store, websites. So actually there will now be some code in the OS where you can integrate your website to use things like desktop notifications and things like that sort of thing, package them, and then put them in the Windows Store. So if you don't want to build a full app, you can do it with your website as well. I will also mention we've talked Project Spartan Browser before on the show. They've now revealed the name. Drum roll, please. Oh, look, you guys are trained so well. Microsoft
Sorry, I was on mute.
Edge. Microsoft Edge is the new browser.
Right.
Edge HTML is the new rendering engine. We didn't learn anything new about the features. It's pretty much the same as we've talked about on the show before, but it has a name and it has a new logo. I don't know if have you guys seen the new logo?
Logo?
Yeah, it looks sort of like the Internet Explorer E, but with some more edges on it, basically.
It's like the sort of like Silicon Valley startup version of the Internet Explorer E, where it's like just like less lines and like a different color. But yeah, it's a lot of people kind of gave it flack for not being different enough, but who cares?
I don't like it. I think it looks very strange. It's so symmetrical. Maybe that's what's bothering me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it looks better in context, but I think in this giant thing by itself, it looks weird.
Yeah, it is an interesting look. Continuing on with some more news from Build, we also had Microsoft announcing Continuum. No, not the Apple Continuum. This is the Microsoft Continuum. What it means is you can, and this is, I think, pretty cool, you can plug your Windows Phone 10 phone into a compatible display, and it will actually run a desktop-type version of Windows using the OS and the hardware on your phone on the display. So because the apps are universal, I guess all the pieces are there for it to just change the OS to make it look desktop-y on your display when you connect your phone to it, essentially turning your phone into a little mini PC when you plug it in.
Yeah, that's the dream. And I think, given what they've done with Surface, I bet they can pull this off.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, maybe next year they'll open source Windows, and you can run Linux programs on Windows, and then it would be perfect. Then I would get a Surface tablet then.
Oh, I don't know,
sure.
Dan. That might be pushing it. It's very optimistic.
I mean, don't you think that in a lot of ways, though, Apple's success has been catering to developers? The whole reason they made OS X was they were like, all right, forget this old OS 9 operating system that no one uses. We're just going to use Linux, which people know, and developers already know how to write software for it. They know the tools, and over time, 10 years, that grew into like, okay, now those developers make pretty good apps, and now other people want to use the platform, and now there's this iPhone thing. So catering to developers is not the worst strategy, and it's something Microsoft has done, pretty successfully in the past.
Well, I think this
continue
announcement
to do
proves
it.
they're doing it now. I just don't know if it goes that, how far it goes.
Yeah, I would like to see it go that far, because then I would definitely use a thing like this. Like, it won't. If 5 years from now, I don't think I would get the first one, but 5 years from now, in version 3 or 4, your phone will be the equivalent of the new MacBook.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be pretty good. You might want to have a powerful computer at home, but if you want to run around and plug into terminals or have things like that, then you can use your phone for most anything. So I wish Microsoft would build me a thing that I want to use.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty great selling point.
Microsoft hardware has been crazy good.
Yeah.
Lately, so
yeah,
I'm excited about this.
Because to be honest, if your selling point is, we have a phone OS that just runs the same apps everyone else does because we made it easy for them to port it, like, that's not really a distinction. So I think if you have features like this, then you can really start to convince me as to why I would buy a Windows Phone over anything else.
Yep.
Because otherwise it's not really a selling point. At Build, we also had HoloLens, the return of HoloLens. This was those crazy sci-fi looking goggle things Microsoft put out where with the holographic processing unit, and you were going to be able to have things just floating around in front of you in space. It was kind of like a see-through Oculus where things would be fake be on the walls, and there would be things on your table dancing around and doing all kinds of things. It's from those at the event say the hardware's gotten some major polishing since then. It's small, light, and seems to work pretty well on its own in terms of hardware. One thing those who tried it have said is that the sort of screen you look through, it's not as wide as the videos make it look. It's really, you're kind of just looking through a little box a little bit, where it's not as the depth of the field of depth isn't as big as sort of portrayed in the video, but nonetheless, the sort of content is I guess good from those who tried it. They have not said anything about when this will be available to anyone at any price for anything, but it is an interesting sort of demo. There's all kinds of videos online if that's something you want to look at, but HoloLens continues to be a thing. It's a thing Microsoft's developing on, and hypothetically, your Windows 10 app will be compatible on HoloLens in addition to everything else Microsoft makes.
Which is bananas. How does that...
I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I really am curious what the APIs for that look like.
I bet when they say compatible, it's like 10% of it's compatible. Like notifications works, and then like everything else you have to do.
Oh yeah, because they did show the demo where they stuck the windows on the walls. That was really cool, and something I've thought about a lot when Google had Google Glass. There was this discussion on some podcast about would it be considered graffiti and defacement if you could walk into a store and your overlay knows you're there and you can see things that people put places? Only if you're wearing the glasses is that considered graffiti. If you take your Yelp review and you stick it right on the table where you had your meal, right? How cool would that be?
Yeah.
And people walk into your house and you can stick your virtual art up on your own walls. You pay an artist $10 to get a super high resolution painting that you just put right in your wall, or videos, new sort of art that isn't even thought of yet that's possible with virtual reality. So just even if the virtual app is just being able to stick things on the walls with HoloLens, that I was excited about that. Everyone would have to have them and it'd have to be okay to wear them, which is probably going to be the toughest part. But that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm just like, all I want out of life in tech is I want the sort of casualness of a Google Glass with the interactivity of like an Oculus. And if you can smash those two together, which it seems like it does, I'm Mr. Anti-virtual reality. I will totally get one of these. Like, I am sold. Because that's really, for me, the holy grail. I do not want to, like, bump into walls as I'm walking around with this huge chunky screen on my eyes. But also, the Google Glass just wasn't... It was notifications, and I can get that on my watch or my phone or whatever. So, I feel like this is a good in-between sort of where maybe the direction of these types of things need to go. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. I think augmented reality is more interesting than virtual reality. I don't know. I enjoy real life. It's mostly
you want to help real life, not go into a wholly different life.
Yeah, not just give up on it.
Yes. That sounds good. Yeah, so we'll have to see if they can fulfill on that promise. Though it's most of the major things from Build. I know they announced a ton of stuff. They just touched on a few. Windows 10, no official date. They expect to be this summer at some point, and no dates on Windows 10. Or I don't think there were even final dates on any of the Office stuff or anything like that. So, it was more of a developer event, so they're talking more things like, your Azure and your Hadoops and your things like that, which isn't necessarily the audience for the show, but, we talk about it anyway. So any remaining thoughts from Build before we move on to a different story?
No, I was really excited about it. I want to play with their editor. I want to try .NET stuff. They did a good job getting me excited.
That's wonderful. And hopefully they can follow through on that.
Yeah.
We've got one more story to talk about. We also saved this one for you, Dan, because we thought you'd want to talk about it, and that's Tesla's battery. Well, it's Musk's battery.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a Tesla battery, right?
But I said it was like Tesla's battery, and it just sounds like Nikola Tesla made it. I don't want to confuse anyone. It's kind of like the battery by Tesla, maybe. I don't know. We teased this on the show before. This was the big announcement. Tesla Energy is what they're calling it. This is Tesla's attempt at making a battery system for your home, business, or utilities. Here's how it works. 2 products. A 10 kilowatt version and a 7 kilowatt version for $3,500 or $3,000. And that excludes installation and the inverter you need. But you mount it to your wall. It's connected to the internet, and it's connected to the grid. And it's connected to solar panels, hypothetically, on your roof. And the way it works is it's a battery, unsurprisingly. So it stores electricity when your solar panels during the day are collecting stuff. You can use that power. Most of the time, though, you're going to pump it back into the energy grid. At times when it adjusts based on the needs and the peaks and the sort of when costs change. And it's all smart, connects to the internet so it knows. So sometimes you're going to use the power, sometimes you're going to sell it. The theory being is that, A, it's cheaper for you, the consumer, even if you're spending up front for the battery, and the panels you're still going to save because you're going to be selling power back to the energy grid when they need it. And it's better for the environment because your solar power, and you actually get to use more of it, because if you don't have a battery at night, you're not doing anything with your solar panels. You can only really use what power they generate during the day. Now, this is for both the home and businesses, so there are some business partners like the Targets of the world and things like that. They said they're going to try it out. Yeah.
Yeah, this was crazy. Did you watch the keynote
No, I heard it
or
was
whatever
amazing.
that was? Yeah, amazing is interesting. It was sort of the anti keynote. It was just this. It felt very unrehearsed. It was very off the cuff. Lots of little jokes. He sort of stuttered a couple times, but it made it feel more authentic because the message he seemed to be trying to get across was, "I want to be doing these things so that people in all these third world countries can actually have power at night. There's tons of countries where they have solar power and it's great for the day, but the batteries are too expensive and unreliable to have at night. Uh, and so, I think that this guy's the real deal, and hopefully he's only just getting started. Uh, I was also talking to someone, and they were mentioning how if as soon as there's another big blackout, which there hasn't been in a couple years, if they can get these things to market before then, they're just gonna fly off the shelves.
Yeah, that's true.
Because right, generators are loud. They take gasoline. It's a little bit dangerous. They can break. Batteries. Everyone understands how they work. You just hang it on the wall. Yeah, I think this. I don't think it'll. This is one of those long plays. I don't think it'll be huge.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I think you're right. Go ahead.
the big problem with this is it's tied to solar. You cannot buy one of these, put it in your house, have it suck power from the regular grid, and store it.
You can't.
As far
I thought
as
that's
I
what
understand this.
I thought that's what the two different things were. Like one of them was for solar and one of them was for.
As far as I know, the only difference is the kilowatt, which means they just hold more energy. But I can certainly look because they're partnering with Solar City, which is a company that Musk is invested in and is on the chair of.
I think we'll have to research
We'll
more,
have to
but I was
research
under
that.
the impression that either was an option. See, I feel like solar right now, if you have solar power, that's the like you're the customer that you're the person right now who would buy this. But I don't see any reason like you couldn't charge your giant battery from the grid.
I agree if that's an option. My concern is if today, assuming solar is the only way to do it, then you've immediately, this example of replacing the gas generator with a battery. Well, you have to have solar panels, which, as far as they've come, I still don't think are cheap and easy enough to be as mass kind of produced and installed as something like an easy battery you can mount in your garage. Um,
So I don't know if this was part of the announcement or just something else I read, but something you can do with the Tesla is when you have it plugged in, you can have the charging station not start to charge until
Tesla
a
is
certain
making
time
that.
because power companies can tell you what the rate of per kilowatt hour of electricity is.
Mhm.
So they already have that technology. So you could charge your wall battery at 3 in the morning when the price is the lowest.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so you
it's
don't
cool.
need solar panels for that.
I think it's especially cool for the solar. I mean, I think the solar stuff is cool because like someday when I don't live, I don't know, when I have a building that I can do whatever I want to, um, I like to have solar power and like the I don't know, like the setup where you feed that everyone does now, where you like feed back into the grid and you get a like subsidy on the like on the rest of your bill from that. Like that's kind of cool, but that's not really what I want. I want to be like completely disconnected, or be on my own.
Which hypothetically you'd be able to do with this system.
Right.
I will say, so I Googled it. I got the answer. As of now, the Powerwall, which is sort of the version that you put on your wall, is being sold through exclusively Solar City, of which Elon Musk is the chair, with two payment systems. So for the 10 kilowatt hour system, you can prepay $5,000 for a 9-year lease, which includes installation, maintenance, the inverter, and control systems, or you can buy it outright for $7,140. Installations will begin in October.
Cool.
So for now, it is just for solar, but as we've seen before with like the Tesla car and things like that, with a software update, you never know what's possible. So it definitely could happen. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So
I don't understand. I still don't understand how can they enforce that? Like, it must just be a power inline. And
Yeah,
how
well,
does it? No.
I feel like it's not necessarily just for solar. It's just that, like, that's how they're selling it right now, is through this solar company.
yeah, because you need somebody to, I'm guessing, with some level of expertise to install it, and you have to partner with like if you just bought a battery and plugged it into the wall, it wouldn't connect to whoever your electricity provider is. Like, I think you have to have more infrastructure, and it has to go through somebody. So maybe one day whoever provides the electricity to your home maybe will sell you one. But I think you need those partnerships for something this technical, and SolarCity makes sense because Musk is, the chair of the company and, an investor.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that's it. We're out of time for news. We can talk picks, although the document is looking a little barren, which is fine. And if you don't have one, that's fine too.
I put mine in.
I will go first while all that's being sorted out. And my pick this week's come courtesy of the Internetflix website. You may know it as Netflix. It is Daredevil. So I feel like every time Netflix comes out with a new show, we pick it. And I'm okay with that because they're pretty awesome. So Daredevil, the Marvel's Daredevil, based on the comic character of the same name, unrelated to the Ben Affleck movie, which was terrible. It is, I think, like 12 episodes, 1 hour each. It's all on Netflix right now. Go watch it. It is really, really, really good. It actually may be one of my favorite Marvel things they've ever done, only because it does a spectacularly good job of balancing the sort of like gritty fight scene, but without drowning the characters in really obvious cliches, which is my big problem with all of the Dark Knight Christopher Nolan stuff. Was like, it's cool that it's gritty and it's badass and there's explosions and stuff, but I can't really get attached to Batman because he tries too hard to be, dark and brooding. I don't buy that. I think this show does a great balance of that. I will say 2 other things. The action sequences are out of this world. They are bloody and they are well shot and they are very interesting. And the other thing is the villain of the show, who I won't talk about too much because I don't want to spoil anything. Maybe my favorite villain of all time. The character is so... the actor should get an Emmy because I think he was great. And I love the character and the backstory and the acting, and it's just I binge watched it an entire weekend because I couldn't not. So Daredevil on Netflix, it's really, really good.
So I'll second that pick because I like 2 weeks ago, I guess I was sick, so I stayed home from work and I was like so sick I couldn't do anything. So I just watched Daredevil for like 2 days, and it was real good. And I particularly like how the fights, like, he gets his ass beat he always not always, but he usually like wins at the end, but he takes a beating doing it, and he's like,
it is bloody.
It's cool.
It is like, put it this way, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is like the cuddly, nice, like sweet version, and then Daredevil's like, it's like the HBO version where they can really go nuts. It's great.
Right.
So Daredevil, it's on Netflix. Go check it out, and do that. We're going to continue on. Colby, why don't you go next with your pick?
All right. So for a while, I've been wanting to buy a TV sound bar or like a big speaker or something for my TV. And I've been trying to decide for a long time on what to do. So I finally ended up getting the Sonos one. So it's called the Sonos Play Bar. So if you don't know anything about Sonos, like, they're the ones that have, like, the idea is they have this fancy app and you can get a bunch of Sonos speakers, and it makes it really easy to, like, play different music in different rooms of your house, and it's all connected, and they're all connected and they can work together or work apart. So I ended up deciding to get the Sonos Play Bar, sort of as like a future investment. It was a little more expensive than some of the other ones, but it's Like the idea is that you can get some of the other Sonos, like smaller Sonos speakers, and they have a subwoofer, and like so eventually I could have like 3.1 surround sound, or you can go even farther than that if you're interested in it. But so I got it like I guess it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I've been using it, and it's pretty cool. The only thing that's funky is it doesn't have AirPlay out of the box, so it doesn't work with AirPlay. It only works with the Sonos app, which is not what I wanted. However, there is a like, if you're at all technically inclined, not even a lot. It's very easy to install, but some guy wrote this like server that basically you just start it on the computer that's on the same network. And it'll expose all the Sonos speakers in your house as AirPlay devices as well. So I've been doing that, and it works great. And it's also cool because there's a it's has a lot of like very nice settings that other speakers that I've used haven't had. And I think the best one is that when you turn on the TV, it has a thing that, like, if you turn on the TV, it just defaults to the TV and overrides anything else you're doing, which is exactly what I would want it to do, which is pretty cool. So, I don't know. If you're looking for a soundbar, like I said, there are, like, less expensive soundbars, but I got it as a sort of, like, building block upon which to perhaps add more speakers in the future, or in at a later time when I have like a larger apartment in which I might actually need more speakers. But
cool. Sonos Playbar. The link will be available at don'tpanic.io once we can get into edit the website. So check it out there. Cool pick. Dan, what do you have for us this week?
So I was the only one of you bums who actually went through with our agreed.
To be fair,
challenge.
I never said
Colby's off
I
the
would
hook.
do the Apple Watch.
No,
challenge.
it's
Are
me.
you
I
sure?
stuck to my guns. Yes, I stuck to my guns the whole
by
time.
It was me. It was all me. You're right. I wimped out, Dan.
It was Sean's idea.
Show me what I'm missing out on.
All right, so I finally got mine many days later. Looks
Woo!
very shiny. Wow. So the first thing is that it does, in typical Apple style, it looks and feels super good. Like wearing it feels like you're wearing something that's super schmancy, which is good, because if it didn't, that would be really bad because it costs a lot of money. So I mean, you've probably all heard a lot about this. I got the old fashion band thing because that was the only one I could find that shipped on the day that it was coming out, except mine still didn't even ship the day it came out. It just came last Thursday.
Did you get is that the 42 or the 30?
It's the 42, and I would not have wanted to go any smaller.
Okay.
Like, on my wrist, it's not very big.
Do you have big wrists, Dan?
No, I have small wrists.
Small
for
wrists.
For a guy.
Yeah.
Definitely small wrists. So yeah, the watch faces are pretty cool. So this is like my working watch face, which has my calendar, activity, temperature, stock price, something else, the time. But then when I'm not at work, I like to keep it more simple, and I'm still figuring out how to use this. Anyways, I just put it. Here we go. Whoop, whoop. I'll just put it on one of like the pretty flower ones or something. Woo!
Nice.
So actual things it's useful for. My favorite. So these glances, when you swipe up from the bottom, you get these little. Nope, not that.
Damn it.
I'm not very good at this. Swipe up from the bottom, you get these little mini apps. First thing is, all these people online are complaining about the battery life. This is all day.
Wow.
I'm still at 57%. Maybe I don't know what they're doing with it, because it's not something you use all the time. It's just like a quick, screens on, screen off. The activity app is beautiful. The best activity tracker I've ever used, and I've used all of them. So this is actually something I feel slightly qualified about. My favorite glance, though, is this. It's the City Mapper glance, and it just shows you briefly
nice.
what lines are affected. It doesn't. You can click on them, and
That's
it'll
what
show
I
you
need.
exactly what. Whoa, that was a notification. So yeah, my friend, here, this is what a notification looks like. The Messenger app isn't an Apple Watch app, but any app that sends notifications on iOS shows up, and they look pretty nice. But sometimes if there's an Apple Watch app, it'll have more rich interactions. Other things that work really well, OmniFocus works really well. Of course, Etsy works really well.
Yeah.
So the real killer app I found for this is when I was making dinner last week, or last Thursday, actually, the day I got it, and you can do always listening Siri. As soon as you flip it up and you say, "Hey Siri," it might do it. No, it's too far away. You usually have to hold it kind of close. Also, the lock screen is back up. It locks when it's not on your wrist for a certain amount of time. It's the only way to use Siri hands-free without having your phone plugged in. So if you're cooking, you've got crap all over your hands. You can just hold your wrist up like, what's 10 milliliters in cups or whatever it is. You can look up recipes. You can say what is a replacement for nutmeg or what, and that was really great. And I found just walking around, especially in the morning, and asking it things: what's the temperature? What's it going to be like tonight? What events do I have this evening? Those are the things that's good for. Definitely convenient and not like any killer apps, but what it does really, really well. I haven't found any of the slowness issues that people have talked about, but I don't know what people are trying to do with this thing that they're killing the battery in 8 hours either. Like, I think one of the problems is people get far too many notifications. If you get hundreds of emails a day and you have email notifications on and you have your company's Slack notifications on, then yeah, you're going to burn through that battery. But you should turn some of those things off, because you just should not, even on a watch, be getting interrupted that often. It's too much.
Yeah, right. Especially on a watch.
Right.
You can't just accidentally ignore it either.
Right. Yeah. The tapping is very subtle. It's not distracting at all. Like, you can, it's so fine tuned. I can barely tell. Like, and oftentimes if I'm really doing something, I'll miss it, which I think is to me a virtue. Like, if I'm playing a video game, I noticed, or walking really fast, concentrating at a work in a meeting, I won't pick up on the fact that it tapped me, which is kind of nice, because I don't want to be really interrupted. It's more subtle than a phone on your leg buzzing. So yeah, I'm sure I'll have more things to say at some point. I'm sure there's some things I forgot too. It's cool to play around with.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Have you bought anything with it using Apple Pay?
Oh no, I haven't yet. I meant to last weekend. I did not have time.
And have you sent anyone your heartbeat?
No, I don't know anyone else who has one. So I did
Forever
send someone
alone.
I sent someone today one of those animated smiley things that you use the wheel. The wheel is very nicely tuned. You use the wheel to like select the emotion, and that works cross-platform. It becomes a GIF if they're not on an Apple Watch. So at least with iMessage, the person got it on an iPhone just fine.
Nice. Cool. Apple Watch, Dan, you'll have to keep us informed as you try new things and experience life with the Apple Watch. And Colby, you should be getting your Pebble Time this month, so
yeah,
we'll have
excited.
See, now I got to get like an Android Wear. So I don't have any Android devices. This is we're really missing out on that aspect. But
maybe when Google releases their companion app for iOS,
I would very seriously consider getting one. The thing is, though, I already bought a Pebble Time, so I'm gonna have so many watches, one for each wrist. Well, this is fantastic. Well, that concludes the show. Despite the fact Dan wasn't here for half of it, I still think it was pretty successful. We appreciate all of you out there joining us. We are here every Monday, except when we're not. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on the website don'tpanic.io. There you can watch us live. And if the website isn't working, youtube.com/don'tpanicshow as well. And we have all the past recorded episodes on the website and on iTunes, Stitcher, via RSS, and on YouTube. You can get them there and all kinds of great places. Don't Panic Show on Twitter is the ultimate source. If you want to get a hold of us, tweet at us or email don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. I think that's just about everything. Facebook.com/No Panic Show there. I'll throw that in for good measure. Gentlemen, anything else before we conclude for the evening?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
I think that's the second time I used that one.
Yeah, well, it's good advice to live by. You could, maybe we'll go with the super stereotypical "May the 4th be with you."
Oh yeah.
That's weak.
I never heard that before today.
It's
What?
I read somewhere it's not that old. 2011 I think was when it really picked up steam. It's not that old.
Huh.
So you're not that far out, but good enough. All right. Well, good. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of Don't Panic.